The old farmhouse had been in Rachel's family for generations, but after her grandparents passed away, it had been left to decay. Determined to restore it, Rachel decided to spend a weekend there alone. It was a remote place, surrounded by thick woods and endless silence. By the time she arrived, the sun had already set, casting long shadows across the peeling walls and sagging roof. The air was thick with the smell of damp wood. She carried her bag inside, the door creaking loudly as it swung shut behind her. The power was unreliable, so she lit a few candles and set to work unpacking. The first few hours passed uneventfully until she noticed something odd, a faint, rhythmic tapping coming from beneath her feet. She froze, holding her breath. The tapping was too deliberate to be the house settling. Gathering her courage, she followed the sound to a corner of the living room, where an old rug covered a trapdoor. She hesitated before pulling it open. A ladder descended into the pitch-black cellar, the smell of earth and mildew wafting up. With a flashlight in hand, Rachel climbed down. The cellar was larger than she remembered from childhood, stretching out into the darkness. The tapping grew louder, reverberating through the air. She turned a corner and froze. There, in the center of the room, stood a figure. It was tall and impossibly thin, its limbs unnaturally long and ending in claw-like fingers. Its skin was a sickly gray, stretched tight over its bones, and its head tilted unnaturally as it stared at her with hollow, glowing eyes. Before she could scream, it spoke. Its voice was a low, guttural rasp, each word echoing as if spoken by many voices at once. "You shouldn't have come back." Rachel stumbled backward, dropping the flashlight. Darkness swallowed her, but the glowing eyes remained. The tapping sound grew louder, now accompanied by whispers that seemed to come from every direction. Her mind raced as she scrambled toward the ladder. She could feel the air grow colder, as if the creature's presence was sucking the warmth from the room. The whispers turned to wails, and Rachel felt something brush against her ankle. She screamed and clawed her way up the ladder, slamming the trapdoor shut behind her. The house was silent again, but the air felt heavier. Rachel grabbed her bag, bolted out the door, and drove away without looking back. When she returned with a group of friends the next day, the trapdoor was gone. The floor was seamless, as if the cellar had never existed. But Rachel knew better. The tapping still echoed in her mind, and every time she closed her eyes, she saw those hollow, glowing eyes staring back at her.